What's up, fight fans? Welcome to Mr. Mustache MMA News. Today, I want to discuss this Saturday's main event in the UFC. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to continue getting more MMA content by yours truly and to help the channel grow. All right, guys, getting right into it, we got Gilbert Burns taking on Sean Brady in the main event in the welterweight division. Man, in a fight that it's there's a lot of implications, and I think this fight too is another indicator that we're definitely seeing a big passing of the guard a lot lately. We have a lot of these young, up and coming guys coming into their own, especially in the welterweight division, specifically the welterweight division. You see just a lot of these young lions coming up, and they're now taking on the old guard. You have the Ian Garys, the Shavkats, Shaw Brady. These three guys right now, in the top 10, yeah, in the top 10 of the welterweight division, these guys are starting to take over. We are starting to see a change of eras here within the UFC. And here with Sean Brady and Gilbert, you have Gilbert writing off two straight losses, 288 and 299 against Bilal and against Jack Della Maddalena. At one point, Gilbert was riding a two-fight winning streak, absolutely running through Neil Magny and dominating George Masvidal. But him being a little bit overactive with those fights, he had those two victories, UFC 283, UFC 287, and then fought Bilal at the very next pay-per-view at UFC 288. Very high on confidence, but showed he was bringing in a lot of injuries into that fight, was just not in fight-ready shape. Bilal took full advantage of that, was able to dominate him for those 5 rounds. And then in his fight against Jack Della Maddalena, most recently in March, you saw Gilbert dominating a lot of the grappling exchanges, first 2 rounds, and even going into the 3rd round. Jack needed to find himself a finish to get that victory, and boy did he find it. Was able to get the finish late into the 3rd round, which has now put Gilbert into this 2-fight losing skid. 38 years old, taking on the up-and-comer Sean Brady, 31 years old, coming off of a dominant, crushing victory over Kelvin Gastelum, the star Kelvin Gastelum, after suffering his first defeat to Bilal Muhammad back at UFC 280 in 2022. Sean Brady has been a rising star within the UFC. Phenomenal wrestling, relentless, smothering top pressure that this guy is able to display. His strength is just on another level. Freak strength. And since that he has taken that loss to Bilal, his fight against Kelvin, he showed that he is now a different animal. And he even explained it before, it was a lot of sports anxiety, performance anxiety, being 15-0, being that next guy in line, him fighting Bilal Muhammad. You could see he was fighting to not lose that 0. And it's a lot like a championship mindset. When you're trying to defend the throne, the mindset sometimes can be very different as to when you're trying to attack the throne, take the throne. You are now you're in a defensive mindset, a defensive position, a reactive position, almost hesitant, gun shy. They don't want to open up as much. And you saw that with Sean Brady, very stiff. And you can see he didn't want to take a lot of risks. And in that fight with Bilal, as that fight went on, Bilal found more and more success, was able to touch Brady because Brady didn't want to open up too much. And that was, he lost by standing knockout to Bilal Muhammad, a guy who doesn't get finishes. And at that time, a lot of people were like, Brady is not that guy to get finished in that fashion by a guy who does not finish dudes. But it just showed where his mindset was, and it was bothering him. He looked like that too in his fight with Jake Matthews, Michael Chiesa. It would seem like he was fighting to not lose and not fighting to win. And now with him kind of getting that loss out of the way, he had a dominant victory over Kelvin Gastelum. And I think that now he has that confidence of how good he really is. And going against a guy like Gilbert Burns, where Burns, I think that where this fight definitely might play out almost as a boxing match, especially in the first couple rounds. Because Brady, he might be a little hesitant to get the takedown because of Gilbert Burns' jiu-jitsu prowess. And then Burns, he's probably not going to work too hard to defend the takedown because he's probably feels that he's going to be pretty comfortable off of his back on the ground. So we might see these guys play out a little bit on the feet, see what they can do. the first 2 rounds, and then maybe going into the third round, we might start seeing some single legs and some clinch exchanges. Sean trying to get it to the ground, but I just think that his strength, Sean Brady's strength, pressure, I think it's just going to be too much for Gilbert. I'm curious, maybe on the gas tank, maybe we'll see Brady get tired rounds 4, 5, and that's where we can see Gilbert Burns take over his veteran ability. But I mean, when you look at Gilbert's resume too, especially since his loss to Usman back at UFC 258, his only wins are Wonderboy, Magny, and Masvidal. Masvidal, I mean, a year ago was not the guy that he was previous. Neil Magny is a good fighter, but he just isn't really that guy. And then Wonderboy, Burns fought him the way that you need to fight him. You wrestled him. He didn't stand and strike and try to trade with Wonderboy. He had the fight with Hamzat, which was very close. Great fight, but he lost that fight. So, I mean, his only recent wins in the last 3 years are, to 3 aging welterweight stars. So, I think I got Brady on this fight. He's young, powerful. He's got the confidence behind him. He's not scared to lose now since he's already taken that L. And with Burns, with just how everything, the writing, I think, is just on the wall for Sean Brady to have a definitive victory over the former title challenger, Gilbert Burns. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think of this main event. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this main event. But that's going to do it for today, guys. Mr. Mustache, MMA News out. Let's fucking go, fight fans.